It's the push on this thing.
Yeah, that's why the Mac is better. We're going?
You are.
We're live? Good evening. This is the Tibet Center, Kunchab Tardu Ling, and this is our parsonage in South Orange, New Jersey. We're located usually in Manhattan and South Orange, New Jersey. We have lost our Manhattan rental. We're working on getting a better one. But until then, we'll have 2 nights a week from the parsonage here in South Orange. Everyone is welcome to come. It's not that far of a trip. Our website has the instructions. So twice weekly presentation of the Buddha Dharma. Specifically tonight we're continuing with Beyond Religion and also introducing some more esoteric meditative texts to help you cut through the jungle of Madhyamaka philosophy. If there's anyone for whom you want us to pray for, put their names on the chat, in the chat box as soon as possible. All the prayers we say are on the Tibet Center website in the FAQ section. Scroll down to prayers. We'll start with prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West by the predecessor of our director, the previous Ling Rinpoche. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious 3 precious gems and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. We lost it? No. For all the people living there together with their near ones who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference in adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, which examines the Dharmas, called profound illumination. And at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the 5 skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, "How should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge?" And Avalokiteshvara answered, "Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the 5 skandhas and their natural emptiness. Form is empty. Emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus, all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhisoha. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, Asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. Generating bodhicittas, it's actually refuge in taking the bodhisattva vow, but the heading is generating bodhicitta. We say these verses 3 times. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today, in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So part of dispelling the miseries of the world is, of course, the only thing that works, the dharmas. That's what we have. So some of you that are here in a mansion-like quarters in South Orange weren't here last night, so we'll recap a little, especially the end of it. Especially that nice little quote, if I could find it now. This is from page 144. This was the section on contentment. And there's a Tibetan saying that at the door of the miserable rich man sleeps the contented beggar. I don't know. The point is not that poverty is a virtue, but that happiness comes not from wealth, but from setting limits on our desires and living within those limits with satisfaction. A satisfied mind, like this folk song says. Very important. He goes on page 145. I'll just give you a little précis of last night. The materialism of modern society therefore makes the practice of moderation and contentment a daily necessity if we are to resist succumbing to a sense of personal dissatisfaction born of unrealistic craving. His point was that advertising is very sophisticated, and people pick it up, Oh, you're an ad man? No. But it's very sophisticated, and people don't realize it's subliminal. You got to have this, you got to have that. And then when you get it, 6 months later, it's on the curb, if it's a physical thing. It goes on, it's controlling our desire for more things is very important also and necessary if we're going to overcome the challenges to life on earth that our incessant quest for more generates. The material resources of this planet are finite. So we have to bear that in mind. The need for contentment, bottom 145, is painfully illustrated by the recent financial crisis. This was written in 12. He's still talking about '08's big crisis, Lehman Brothers or whoever, Scrooge and company, I don't know. So, still being felt across a deeply interdependent world. It's easy to blame politicians for failing to sufficiently regulate financial institutions. Ultimately, though, this crisis was generated by, you got it, greed itself. By the failure to exercise appropriate moderation and restraint in the blind quest for even greater profits. So the barriers, comrades. Also, as an Italian businessman explained to me, there was excessive speculation. The word speculation itself means acting without full knowledge. In this case, the level of caution and humility appropriate to actions undertaken without full knowledge was clearly absent. Here the problem was essentially one of arrogance and short-sightedness. A third issue was a lack of transparency, which allowed dishonesty and deceit to thrive unchecked. So that's the price. It could be this world today, Time and geography will impose limits on how much wealth anyone can succeed in gathering, in accruing in a single lifetime. Given this natural limit, it seems wiser to set one's own limits through the exercise of contentment. In contrast, when it comes to acquiring mental riches, the potential is limitless. The mind is limitless. It doesn't follow all the restrictions of the physical world. He said, here where there is no natural limit, it is appropriate not to be contented with what you have, but constantly strive for more. Unfortunately, most of us do the exact opposite. We are never quite satisfied with what we have material, but we tend to be thoroughly complacent about our mental riches. Then he goes to self-discipline, and the one big quote, he's talking about self-discipline has to be voluntarily embraced. You heard this last night. Voluntarily embraced. When self-discipline is imposed from the outside, it is very rarely effective and sometimes can even be counterproductive. When discipline is imposed by fear, either fear of some external authority or fear stemming from our own cultural or religious conditioning, the individual also feels very little enthusiasm for it. As a result, and here's the big tagline, imposed discipline rarely brings about inner transformation. It's a tricky thing because imposed discipline is the rule of the land. Let's see. He recommends, he said, with the awareness that comes, this is page 149 if you're keeping score, with the awareness that comes from contemplating the consequences of a lack of self-discipline, we can gradually develop a greater ability to resist temptation in our own life. Eventually, with sustained practice, self-discipline will start to come naturally and will no longer require conscious effort and willpower. At that point, when restraint and moderation come naturally, we begin to feel the great sense of freedom that comes with self-mastery. So the benefits. Everything's called, negative, not doing, positive, doing. The cat just tore up your leg?
That's okay. I'm used to it. We had a cat that would do that.
You keep a line in your house? We have a cougar in our house. The virtue of self-discipline is extolled in all the world's major religious transitions. In Islam, for example, a strong emphasis placed on the virtue of sabir, which means steadfastness, self-control, patience, or fortitude. And those who have this quality are called sabirin, are said to be beloved of God. So he ends this section with gaining mastery over our destructive propensities through the exercises of awareness and self-discipline at the levels of body, speech, and mind frees us from the inner turmoil that naturally arises when our behavior is at odds with our ideals. Assuming you have ideals. I don't know. In place of this turmoil comes confidence, integrity, and dignity, heroic qualities all humans naturally aspire to. So now he goes into generosity, which we didn't do last night. I don't think we... Yeah. It seems worthwhile. So this is guys who were around last night. This is fresh material tonight. It seems worthwhile to say a few words about the value of generosity. defined a little differently. There's more nuance to it. Generosity is the most natural and outward expression of an inner attitude of compassion and loving kindness. When one desires to alleviate the suffering of others and to promote their well-being, then generosity in action, word, and thought, not just giving things, is this desire put into practice. It is important to recognize that generosity here refers not just to giving in a material sense, but to the generosity of the heart. As such, it is closely connected to the virtue of forgiveness. Without generosity of the heart, genuine forgiveness is impossible. That's something to think about. Without generosity of the heart, genuine forgiveness is impossible.
So what is generosity of the heart?
I guess he'll explain that. No, it's first of all, you always compliment somebody when they can, he'll go through it now, what we can do. Classical Buddhist texts describe the generosity in terms of 4 kinds of giving. First, the giving of material goods. That's all we think about. He's giving, he's rich. Second, the giving of freedom from fear, which means offering safety and security to others and dealing with them honestly. I think it was that Swedish diplomat who saved a lot of Jewish people from the Holocaust. What was it? That thing is with a W. He saved a lot of people. He sheltered them.
Oh, I know.
Wallenbach, something like that. There must be something towards some plaque in the UN about
He
it.
died like a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
Something Wiesel? What's his first name?
Well, it'll come. Well, somebody knows. Somebody will text him. We have a lot of
I forgot his first name.
the cognoscenti will text him. Giving of freedom from fear, which means offering safety and security to others and dealing with them honestly. This thing is a big point now, and it actually had to be activated in Tibet and Frank in those times. You don't normally lie, but if someone is looking for so-and-so, and they're rounding them up to be killed or whatever, where are they? I haven't seen them. They might be in your closet hiding, but it's okay to lie than to save a life, of course. So let's not get straight. No, you shouldn't lie. We have to tell the truth. There he is. Come on. We're a little more mature than that. So, what is it in the Jewish, the letter and the spirit of the law?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm thinking about this very much in the context of my own life, and as I shared with you in the past, I study social media, and I'm thinking about it right now because I'm also reading about it, and I think this is one of the things that's actually very hard to do in today's media environment, because if you're reading an outrageous headline,
Right.
the first thing you want to do is share it with others. So if you're sharing it on your on your Facebook or whatnot, are you not in some ways giving more fear instead of protecting?
You put an envelope around it. You put it in your own context. Listen to what this idiot said, and and you counter it. I guess I don't. That's what I would. I don't know if there's any straight. What is Elie Wiesel? No, not Elie Wiesel.
No.
The Swedish diplomat who had diplomatic immunity was able to get these people out. Under diplomatic cover. Elie Wiesel has been around. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Except when Bernie Madoff was involved, he didn't like him. I can't forgive him. He said. He's a Nobel laureate, I think, right?
Is that?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, outrageous things by Steve Bannon or somebody, one of those morons.
Yeah.
And you want to, maybe you have to report the news, right, or something. But you bracket it, unless your editor has you embellish it a different way. But on your own, in your own personal thing, listen to this idiot, It's a good service. Let them know what's out.
Wallenberg?
That's it, Wallenberg.
Raoul Wallenberg.
Raoul Wallenberg, yes. Hundreds of people. He got them. He was a sharp operator. He's Swedish, yes.
He died in 1947.
Then that's him,
That's
though.
him, okay.
Somebody else died recently. Freedom from fear, offering safety and security to others and dealing with them honestly. That's all part of freedom from fear. Deal with people honestly. Don't fool them or something. The third, the giving of spiritual counsel, which entails offering comfort, concern, and advice to support others' psychological and emotional well-being. And fourth, the giving of love. So, an important point to recognize at the outset is that the aim of any of these four kinds of giving should never be to ingratiate oneself with others, but should always be to benefit the recipient. If one's motivation is in any way connected seeking one's own benefit, this is not generosity. That's it. The court has ruled. Classical Buddhist texts also note the need to be discerning when engaging in acts of generosity. Yes. And the classic thing is, if you give a bum $2 and he buys drinks, and Nikki always says, give. Part of it is you unlocking your sense, your stinginess or whatever. If you're really smart, as a falling down junkie and he's going to score some stuff that'll kill him, you don't. But that takes a lot of judgment. In general, though, you always err on the side of letting it out. But, in the real world, we have to be discreet. He's mentioning that now, being judicial. That's the word. For example, in addition to ensuring the soundness of one's motivation, first of all, when you're giving, am I giving to show off in front of everyone or not? They discuss the need to be aware of specific contexts in which giving might not be appropriate. Giving disproportionately, or giving to someone at a wrong time might do the recipient more harm than good. So there are boundaries. So you have to apply wisdom here, I would think. And clearly there are certain items, such as poisons or weapons, which are by their very nature inappropriate for giving, drugs, etc., and so forth. You don't give them a Christmas gift of fentanyl or something. Who knows? I'm sure that goes on.
Cocaine.
Yeah. Well, a bunch of us just exchange joints in a Christmas card. So that was done many years ago. I mean, really many years ago. The 1870s and the 70s. So anyway, if what we give is likely to be used to harm others, the principle of compassion dictates that we shun giving in that context. Furthermore, these texts emphasize the need to be sure we are giving out of respect for the recipient, not out of a sense of superiority. A genuine act of generosity will honor the recipient's dignity. So they always say, here, things like that. And Tibetans, you'll notice, will do that. The two-hand giving sometimes. Even food to beggars. That's seen in Rinpoche. No. Like that, very kind, very gentle. Usually with the right hand, but I'm not one of these people that stands on that ritual. But I don't see anything wrong with the left hand, but in that culture... And Islam also, the left hand is evil, dirty. A genuine act of generosity will honor the recipient's dignity. These, I think, are all helpful instructions for us to keep in mind. And now he goes off on a little, he doesn't go off, but he talks about charitable giving and philanthropy, the big guns that give a lot. A few years ago, His Holiness says, I took part in an interesting panel discussion in New York on the subject of philanthropy. So far as charitable giving is concerned, the most pressing areas of need, in my view, are those of health and education. Health is essential to human dignity and well-being, but the resources required for modern healthcare are simply unavailable to many in the world. Education provides the means for which people can gain the skills and resourcefulness required to escape poverty. Charitable giving is particularly emphasized in the Abrahamic faiths, in which giving to the needy is regarded as an important religious obligation. You do a mitzvah. I have often been impressed by the charitable work undertaken by much of the Christian charities in the developing world. We Tibetans, especially during the difficult early years of our exile, have ourselves been on the receiving end of this generosity and have directly felt its benefit. In Islam, almsgiving, or zakat, is considered one of the 5 pillars that every devout person must practice. And in Judaism, too, charitable giving is held to be a key component of religious observance. On your head, Mazel Tov, right? But charitable giving does not just benefit the recipients, of course. In fact, actually, On the part of the donors, what could possibly be more gratifying than the knowledge that through their own help, many others, real people, real needs, are being benefited? That's a psychological boost for you, even if you're not sensitive. It's there. You think so or not? Yeah,
Absolutely.
For those who are already rich, additional wealth beyond a certain level does not bring them any real value. How much do you want? Unless they put this wealth to good use. Even a billionaire has the same size of stomach as anyone else, and the number of homes one person can live in is finite. Yeah, you can only sleep in one place at one time. I mean, really. After a certain point, greater luxury and extravagance have no real effect on one's level of comfort. Eventually, wealth becomes merely a series of figures on paper or on a computer screen. Furthermore, if one cares about moral principles or about maintaining a basic sense of decency, then indulging in an excessive lifestyle for oneself in the face of all the poverty that exists in the world can be problematic. What kind of mind do you have that you ignore this? Number one. It's a bit like a person eating a meal with a sense of abandon in front of a beggar who's dying of hunger. It's not in your face. It's like vague, the way we do everything in the world. Everything becomes a little removed. But it's the truth. There are people who really are starving. Fortunately, there are today some remarkable people who, through their philanthropic activity, share their enormous wealth with the needy and the poor in many parts of the world, especially in the fields of health and education. I've already mentioned Bill and Melinda Gates. Well, now it's just Bill Gates and Melinda on their own. See, this was in 12 they wrote it. Who, through their charity work, dedicated so much to others. I also know personally of the wonderful philanthropic work of Pierre and Pamela Omidyar. I don't know these people. Anybody know who Pierre? Are you in the audience, Pierre? No, they're not. Okay.
It's my neighbor.
It's your neighbor, really? I see. No, you got Richie as your neighbor. He's not so hot. These people who contribute a substantial part of their wealth to helping others. When I meet such individuals, I always express my appreciation of their generosity towards the world's needy. I therefore appeal once again to all those who are in similar positions of wealth to seriously consider sharing their resources with others through philanthropy. The other thing he always recommends is rejoice in the merit that these people who perform these philanthropic deeds accrue. Share their joy, share their merit. Just think, that's good. That conditions your mind more and more. In future lives, you'll be wealthy probably, and you'll be able to give. Don't be a cheapskate in future lives. So anyway, I'm making light of it. I shouldn't. Yet it is not just the extremely wealthy who need to think seriously about giving. Even for those of limited means, an attitude of generosity has huge benefits. In opening one's heart and bringing one a sense of sympathetic joy, that's the word I want, sympathetic joy and connection to others. One High Lama, Palden Lamaiti, says, I know a practice you could do without leaving your room and lying in your bed. Admire all the deeds of others, the positive deeds of others. That conditions your mind. Giving material goods is one form of generosity, yes, so my name is... But one can extend an attitude of generosity into all one's behavior. So there's something psychological here that's very interesting. Being kind, attentive, and honest in dealings with others, offering praise when it is due, giving comfort and advice where they are needed, and simply sharing one's time with someone. And that's probably our biggest source. The time we have in this life is very valuable. So that's a big deal. All these are forms of generosity, and they do not require any particular level of material wealth. You have to have enough to eat to be alive, and you can do it. That's it. Oh, I see. We're offering mantras now. That's very nice. Joy in giving, page 153. Come on in. The cat is asleep. The lion sleeps tonight. Oh, Carol. No, I knew we'd get you here with Tartufo. Relax, come on in. You want have an espresso? Go right ahead and make it. You don't have to sit right away. This is not MIT or the Goldman Sachs business meeting. No, far from it. An important aspect of the practice of generosity, I feel, is to take joy in it. In the classical Indian tradition, there is a custom of dedicating acts of generosity to a higher altruistic goal. This helps ensure that generosity is not blind or driven by partiality or bias, but is directed toward the greater good of all humanity. And we do that, the Bodhisattva style of giving. May this benefit. The custom of dedication also allows the giver to rejoice in the act of giving. Taking joy in giving is very helpful since it makes us more inclined to engage in similar acts of kindness and charity in the future. My wife on the line is, hey, my birthday's coming up. No. The great thing about giving is that it not only benefits the recipient, but it also brings profound benefits to the giver, and that's for sure. I think it's a bigger benefit, but I don't know. And the more one gives, the more one enjoys giving. To a point, you know. Carol, I see, is thinking of a counter-argument. No, not yet?
No, I believe in giving. I believe in generosity.
So now we come to the heavy artillery. I believe in generosity. In a Broadway show. That's not. He's sleeping over there. You're allergic, right? I got to ask the vet about some Allopac, something you could pat the cat down with so people who are allergic won't be affected. Okay. Now it's going to get technical, and the meditation portion of our, believe it or not, we actually talk about that here. Meditation as mental cultivation. This is, so to start it off, quickly introduce the inward view. This is Finding Rest in the Nature of the Mind. Longchenpa's trilogy, the Nyingma Lam Rim you might call, I don't know. You know Longchenpa, you know him? He's the whole show in the Nyingma, Him, Jigme, Lingpa, etc. The hell of his dates. They were a while ago. So where did I put my marker? I do this all the time. He's talking to the mind now. This is verse 29, chapter 3. I think it's on page 134, 135 of this brand new translation from the Padmakara group. They're very good. They're based in Nepal, but they really are thorough. And they're very lucid in their translations. The mind should be examined thus. You, O mind, yeah, you, wake up. You, O mind, without reality and yet immersed in thought. Without reality, you read without inherent reality. You got to remember that. Busy with accepting or rejecting objects of the senses. You rang. With truth and falsehood, sorrow, joy, indifference, and yet there's no identifying you. Where is it? At first, whence do you come? And now, where are you found? And finally, where did you go? I want names. I want who helped them get away. No, where did you go? This is very big, by the way. What is your color and your shape? When the mind is scrutinized with such reflection, here is what is found. First of all, he's putting us in the context that we should be in. We're in the desire realm. Everything is physical, this, physical, that, smell, taste, touch, on and on into the night. The mind doesn't fit that category. It observes these, but it has no physical weight, no electric charge, no mass, all these things that we're used to thinking about and categorizing. The next verse says, at first, the mind is empty of a cause for its arising, inherently arising with it. Then it is empty of a dwelling place. This is, arising, maintaining, and leaving it. And at the last, it's empty of cessation. It has no shape or color. There's no grasping or identifying it. The former mental state has ceased. The one to come is not yet born. And in the present, mind has no abiding outside or within. Thus, those who thus investigate will understand that mind exceeds conceptual construction and is similar to space. Mind exceeds conceptual construction and is similar to space. I'll read the whole verse. At first the mind is empty of a cause for its arising, then it is empty of a dwelling place, and at the last it is empty of cessation. It has no shape or color. All right, that we understand. There's no grasping or identifying it. His Holiness always says, where is my? Where is the I? Where's the I? So the former mental state has ceased, the one to come is not yet born, and in the present mind there's no abiding outside or within. Thus those who thus investigate will understand that mind exceeds conceptual construction and is similar to space. That theme goes all through different texts. We're going to hear the first Panchen Lama in a second. Then they should lay aside reflection as to what the mind is like and rest as if reposing from fatigue. This is the whole, Dzogchen and Mahamudra scene. Rest. I rest a lot, and I don't learn anything. I don't know. They should not think of anything. Investigation laid aside, reposing in this state where everything is even and beyond duality. Of course, this is kind of deep and something to think about, but someone first hearing this might get very confused. What does the first Panchen Lama say? Let's see. Oh, here it is. This dollar. I use dollars to mark the page. So if I'm ever broke, I can always get a sandwich or something.
Very generous.
Yeah, and also the money kind of lasts, some people. So this is from the Dalai Lama's commentary on the first Panchen Lama's Kagyu Gilug tradition of Mahamudra. The first Panchen Lama was really the fourth one because posthumously they gave him three preceders or whatever. He's a great one. We do the sadhanas we do for the Guru Puja. He wrote the argument between the reifying mind and wisdom. It's a classic book that's really, really good. Translated by Professor Lieberman. If you can get your hands on it, it's very good. It's a riot, as a matter of fact. Back and forth arguments, very snotty remarks and stuff from the 1600s.
What's the title again?
Let me see if I have it. The reifying, I'll look it up on my phone because I didn't bring it with me. I had it here today all day. I'm through 3 readings of it. It's hard, but it's very worthwhile. The argument between wisdom and reifying habits, something like that. You could look up Professor Kenneth Lieberman. His books will have it. It's Professor Emeritus at University of Oregon. Anything you get by that guy is great, including his book on tasting coffee. It is terrific. He's really good. He lived parts of his. He was going to study with Chungla Rinpoche, and he had a massive heart attack, and they had to really work on him for like 2 years, back and forth. He's healthy now. When he's not in the monastery living as a lay person, he's in Baja California where he has a place where he surfs every day. So he's an unusual character. Very bright. By discipline, he's a sociologist. From your area of the woods, Oregon. You're Washington. That's general, I'll find it. Don't worry. I bought Nicky a copy to repay him for his kindness in giving me Jeffrey Hopkins' book. Okay, this is from page 138. Dalai Lama's comment on the Gelug Kagyu tradition of Mahamudra. The root text that he's commenting on is the first Panchen Lama's. Does he have a special name? Discourse on the root text for the precious Gelug Kagyu tradition of Mahamudra, that's all. So, page 138. Some learned masters of the past have pointed out that whenever the mind gives rise to a thought, if we look nakedly or barely at its nature, we do not need to stuff the thought back into the mind. So, you could sit now, the classic way we should do is watch our mind, and people watch thoughts come in and out, but we won't go there because you know already the thoughts. So what do? It automatically disappears. The thought disappears automatically. We are left with a vacuum that is its bare absence. Likewise, if our mind is not giving rise to any thoughts, but rather is settled, and we scrutinize the settled mind As it says in the text, a non-obstructive bare absence and clarity is vivid. A non-obstructive bare absence and clarity is vivid. That was an absent vivid. Mind has no form. It has neither shape nor color, cannot be touched, does not obstruct anything, and cannot itself be obstructed. In this regard, it is a bare absence of these qualities. Like an open space or vacuum, yet it can give rise to a clear appearance of anything. So it's not just dumb, empty space. It's clear and knowing. Clear of anything, in the sense that it allows for anything to dawn clearly as an object of experience. So it's like space, it allows things. Sometimes they did that metaphor, mind, space like emptiness, blah, blah. So its nature, in fact, is mere clarity and awareness, clear and knowing, whatever you want to call it. If we recognize it properly, we can figuratively see, as Kirti Senshab said, you see with the mind, not with the eye. We're talking about mentally seeing. It's a different perceptive mechanism. We could figuratively see this bare absence that is a mere clarity and awareness vividly in our meditation. You got to be around to do this. You have to, first of all, have a good, strong, calm abiding. That precedes all this mental gymnastic. You have the ability to set the mind blissfully with a pliant body, a blissful body. The body is giving bliss to the mind, all that. With the calm abiding steps, which we can go into when we do the Lam Rim. We can see this bare absence that is a mere clarity and awareness vividly in our meditation. Whenever the mind gives rise to a thought, if we look at its nature, it automatically disappears. Looking at its nature is a technical term, and that's very hard to understand. Just as waves disappear into water, now he's explaining it nicely. Just as waves disappear into water because they are of the nature of water, likewise, thoughts naturally subside since they are the nature of the mind. They do not go beyond having a nature of mere clarity and awareness, no matter how annoying and they are to you, etc., and so forth. So, therefore, when we scrutinize the nature of thoughts, we see that they automatically dissolve. Thus, we come to the foundation of thought, mere clarity and awareness. That's difficult, because sometimes our thoughts don't go away. We're not trained that much, But if the mind is in equipoise, at least calm abiding, you may not see emptiness. There's some truth to that. But it is. The waves in the ocean are like this, but they are the nature of the ocean. The bottom of the ocean is quiet, Something like that, they always say. So these weird thoughts you have and this anxiety and blah, 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 is still the basis of the mind. It's still the mind expressing itself. Underneath it is very clear and calm knowing and awareness. So we got to get there. I'm forming this oceanography with the poor guys. No, but we have to get there. So the root text says, you see that the settled and moving minds are mixed together. So they came to some good awareness. Do you see? We are only aware of the chatter. Sometimes but these people see that this chatter is of the nature of what's the deep calm that's below it, that knows everything, and its basis is really omniscient when you take the veils off of it. Whether our mind is totally absorbed on its focus without any thoughts, or is moving, giving rise to thoughts from moment to moment, if we scrutinize the nature of thoughts, we see that they do not go beyond being mere clarity and awareness. You got to be in a good mental posture to see that. But it's possible, it's doable. They have the same nature of that of the settled mind. Thus we reach the same conclusion whether our mind is settled or moving. We come to mere clarity and awareness. Since this conclusion is based on meditative experience, it is well known. This is His Holiness, by the way, talking all the time, with just a little quote. The Kagyu tradition, for example, speaks about not consciously blocking thoughts or trying to stuff them back in. Yeah, boy. When the mind, whack-a-mole, you'll never be done. Thus, we reach the same conclusion whether our mind is settled or moving. We come to mere clarity and awareness. Since this conclusion is based on meditative experience, it is well known. The cognitive traditions about the stuffing of the mind. When the mind gives rise to thoughts, one tries to see them as waves of play of the Dharmakaya. Now he's coming to the big point. Waves of play of the Dharmakaya, omniscient awareness encompassing everything. This is one version of seeing that the settled and moving minds are mixed together. The root text continues, there's a little bit of that. Thus, this is the first Panchen himself coming down on our stage. Thus, no matter what thought arises, when you cognize that it is a movement of mind and without blocking it have settled on its nature, you find it is like the example of a bird confined on a boat. As is said, just as a crow having flown from a ship after circling directions must re-alight on it. So it comes home. So we'll have more of this in the future because it's a seminal book. Very good, even though it's got Karkyu Gelug, so it's legit.
20, what was the name of that book again that you mentioned before by Lieberman? Approximately, I have the whole list here.
Yeah, the list. Go ahead, I'll tell you which one.
Oh, there's quite a few.
There's a debate book, there's a...
The logic is made
No.
to dance,
No.
producing records of testimony,
No,
more studies in etymology. Let's see.
no, some of it is academic stuff.
Hold on.
The argument between the
Reflective.
the reifying argument
Okay, hold on.
and wisdom. It's Motilal Bansidas. What are those?
What is it? Sorry.
Motilal Bansidas, the Indian publisher.
Oh.
Can you explain again the last name was the crow?
The crow relights on the ship. So a crow is in the middle of the ocean. He lives on the boat. He likes to fly around, but realizes, I'm going to get any meal out here. Goes right back to the ship. These thoughts go out, but they come back to the basic Dharmakaya nature of the mind. And they are of it. They can't go anywhere. We don't think that. We go over here, we chase them there, we chase them there. I'm depressed. Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. I feel this is not something to make light of. And it's very hard to come to that point. You got to understand that. You have to have patience and background, especially background in the 9 stages. At least background so you can understand what they're talking about. Actually doing it is a big deal. Nothing else?
Told you I
The
could.
debate between the reifying habit and wisdom, I think that's the title.
Hold on phone.
Well, we don't want to take up the class's time. So, guys, here we go. And let's check the time so we can structure this thing. It's almost there. We'll introduce His Holiness meditation as mental cultivation. This chapter will probably go in a couple of classes because we can bring in a lot of heavy artillery to supplement the ideas. Most of it by His Holiness himself. You have this book, by the way, Lavinia. I saw it in your
I'm
house.
reading it right now,
Yeah.
actually. What page were you on?
I'm skipping around. That was 138, something
Oh,
like
okay.
that. But this is, you should start at the beginning with
I did,
Alex's
Yeah, introduction.
introduction of the Mahamudra. Meditation and Mental Cultivation, page 155 of this text that we're focusing on, Beyond Religion. We have now explored in some detail what spirituality and ethical living entail in terms of personal practice. We have discussed some ways to bring mindful awareness into everyday life, some ways to develop greater awareness so that we can learn to regulate our emotions, and finally, some ways to actively cultivate our inner values. These are all preparatory things that we have to do, even if you think you don't have to. If you do think you don't have to, consult a real Lama, not a student like me. Since all these practices, especially the last 2, involve some degree of disciplined application of the mind. In this final chapter, I would like to say a few words about cultivating mental discipline. And he calls the chapter Meditation as mental cultivation. For myself, such cultivation is an indispensable part of daily life. On the one hand, it helps reinforce my determination always to act compassionately for the well-being of others. Always, always. He's Chenrezig. He comes out with that all the time. On the other hand, right here, it helps keep me in check, keep in check those afflictive thoughts and emotions by which we are all assailed from time to time, and to maintain a calm mind. Sometimes you really are beset by things. Do this, the Vajra fist, the thumb to the bottom of the fourth finger here, and hold it for a while. Like this. I mean, but sometimes that helps. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. Depends on the person. By mental cultivation, I mean a disciplined application of mind that involves deepening our familiarity with a chosen object or theme. Here, I am thinking of the Sanskrit term bhavana, which connotes cultivation, and whose Tibetan equivalent gom has the connotation of familiarization. We say meditation, but that's a big... He's saying it means familiarization. The Bhavana Krama, stages of meditation, by, what's his name? Kamala Harris. No, Kamala Sheila. Maybe she's the incarnation. Oh, well.
I found the book.
You found it? Oh, what's it called?
It's exactly what you said, Tom.
The reifying argument?
The Panchen Lama's debate between wisdom and...
That's it. Panchen Lama's debate between his and the Ray.
thank
It's
you.
hilarious. You got to stay with it, you know. But it's very good. It's rewarding. He's so good at translating. And he's got a nice introduction. You just read the introduction alone, like, 20 pages. It's really good. So, friends, you can get it at what? You can get it anywhere. Bangse bookstore, you can give it, the Kagyus have it. You get it in 2 days. So familiarization, that's what meditation means, what Gom means in Tibetan, familiarization. These two terms, often translated into English as meditation, refer to a whole range of mental practices, and not just, as many suppose, to simple methods of relaxation. Yes, think quiet, please. The ASMR crowd, that's make everybody verbal opium, whatever it is. The original terms imply a process of cultivating familiarity with something, whether it is a habit, a way of seeing, or a way of being. So on page 156, he has a section called A Process of Transformation. So the purpose of this is to change our being. So, and not to just, cure a headache or something. How then does this process of mental cultivation lead to spiritual and inner transformation? Here it may be helpful to invoke the idea of 3 levels of understanding. I think you all know, but he puts it in different words here. As found in the classical Buddhist theory of mental transformation. These levels are understanding derived through hearing or learning, or reading, understanding derived through reflection, and understanding derived through contemplative experience. Sometimes they just say, hearing, thinking, and meditation, and they go on to this is a little more expanded, the meaning. For example, consider people who are seeking to understand the deeply interdependent nature of today's world. They may first learn about it by listening to someone talk about this issue or by reading about it. But unless they deeply reflect upon what they hear or read, their understanding remains superficial and closely tied to their knowledge of the meaning of the words. So there's a lot going on here with those, you really need time to think about this stuff. At this level, their understandings of a given fact will only be an informed assumption. And everybody walks around with that all day long, and that about everything. An informed assumption. However, as they then reflect more deeply upon its meaning, applying analysis as well as dwelling mindfully upon the conclusion they reach, understanding, holding that understanding. So analysis as well as dwelling mindfully upon the conclusion they reach, not in a trance, but a deep sense of conviction arises of the truth of the fact. You're getting to the point. This is a second level. It's only the second level. What? This is the second level in the process of understanding. Finally, as they continue to cultivate deep familiarity with the fact, their insight into it becomes internalized, making it almost a part of their own nature. So that's the goal here. It's a little more expanded than hearing, thinking, meditation. They have then reached the third level of understanding, which is characterized in the classical text as experiential, spontaneous, and effortless. Experiences, yes, spontaneous and effortless. It's your habit now. That's the way you are. You are it. You agree or not agree? Would you like to be simultaneous at work with your data? No. One more paragraph because the time is running out. There is nothing mysterious about the process of transformation. Don't be afraid of it. In fact, you have to do this. You want to suffer forever and ever? Time to stop. Right here at the Tibet Center, we stop endless suffering. I hope. I'm sure. Nothing mysterious about the process of transformation. In fact, it is something that occurs in our everyday lives. A good analogy is the process of acquiring a skill, such as swimming or riding a bicycle, where the key factor is actual practice. Making cakes with Pustines.
How
What?
do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Practice. You have to say it with an accent. Practice, practice. That's that old of a joke. And I remember it. In the context of education, for example, this progression from first hearing to learning to deepening one's understanding through critical reflection to conviction is quite usual and is well known. For instance, the knowledge that is based simply on hearing or reading without being processed through reflection does not lead to strong conviction. For this reason, it cannot result in any real change. But if, through critical reflection, we have gained deep conviction about what we have learned, this can lead to a serious commitment on our part to make that knowledge part of our personal outlook. It's you. It's in your genes. Well, short pants or whatever. Oh, it's in your makeup. Your DNA. That's the comic thing now. It's in your DNA. All right, fine. When was the last time you looked at your DNA? So we'll have to end it there. And I'll have to make a mark. I'll use the phone for that. Our next Dharma presentation, actually this weekend at 1 o'clock we have Tara practice. Everyone is welcome. Those of you who live in the city, it's a good time to come out. The leaves are nicely changing due to the lack of rain. It's ahead of schedule, about 2 weeks. So it's well worth the 35 minutes you spend on the train. And take the train. Do not spend 2.5 hours on the roads because that's, disgusting. Raoul Wallenberg died a long time ago. When did he die? You had it here.
Oh, 1947 or something?
Yeah, in the 40s he died. He's dead
So
today,
he's been
and
reincarnated.
most likely he'll be dead tomorrow. He's probably a reincarnated.
Already a few times.
Yeah. That's the only name you got?
Yep.
The Lady of Death didn't respond. Jane didn't give us some names. The Lord of Death. She cruises the obituaries and sends it in. All right, Sutras of the Recollection, Noble Three Jewels. And, I have one. Mr. Tata passed away a couple of weeks ago. He's the big Indian industrialist who's very kind-hearted and very
Tata
charitable.
Motors and
Tata Motors,
Oh.
Tata this, Tata that. Tata. So he passed away a few.
Tenzin knew him.
Well, we'll interrogate Tenzin now and see
Yeah.
if he knew the right Tata. So, yes, him. I prostrate to the omniscient one. Thus the Buddha Bhagavat, Tathagata Arahat Samyak Sang Buddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strengths cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He's not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats, who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavat, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy, and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Jnana, they enter completely. They enter insightfully. They enter straightforwardly. They enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme, ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. So our final component is the prayer for the swift return of Chungla written by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, called a prayer for swift return. Of course, it's on the website in the FAQ section. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop. Sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes. Guru Lozang Tubuang Dorje Chang. Please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast waves of aspirational prayers. Lord of speech of the Victor Lotssang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening. Yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you till cyclic existence's end to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by bodhicitta drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holders of the teachings and wish-fulfilling jewel, return as the glory of Lozang Tenpe. Magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala Karmayama and Sri Mata Devi, and the oceans of Dharma protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moonlight face. So I mentioned before, the next event will be here Saturday at 1 o'clock, our bi-weekly presentation of the White Tara Sadhana, and we serve refreshments. You can come and enjoy yourself. It starts at 1, it lasts about 40-45 minutes, and then the rest of the day you're free to, eat, drink, and make merry. No alcohol, no. The next Dharma class will be from the parsonage here next Tuesday night, and following that the Wednesday night after. Starting November 11th, we're going back to the pre-COVID and during COVID ritual that we had Monday and Wednesday, so there's a day in between. Tuesday and Wednesday is a little bit too much. So whether we find a place in the city or continue to work from here, it'll be Monday and Wednesday, but not till November 11th, to give everybody a chance to get used to it, and we don't get any letters complaining you weren't there. Anyway, so thank you very much for your patient listening. Big love to all of you. Hope to see you Saturday. Dr. Smith.